This is for busy people. I'm creating this particular video for a female 800-meter runner who currently is having back problems because her breasts are heavy and she has very little upper body strength, period. She currently runs 3 days a week, and there will be a warm-up portion of this that will fire up her muscles and get her spine and muscles kind of in the proper alignment before she does her runs. And then afterwards there will be more of a strength-based aspect of this program so that she can gain strength in her upper body and hips and get her muscles stretched out again after she runs. If this describes you, all these exercises will help almost anyone with back pain, and none of them will hurt you. So they're good exercises for anyone. The first exercise we're going to do is called chin tucks. So stand 4 to 6 inches away from the wall. I'm standing about 6 inches away from the wall right now. Put your butt up against the wall. You want to flatten your back somewhat. You don't want it rounded or curved too far in your direction. You want your shoulder blades or scapula up against the wall, your head up against the wall. And again, you don't want to have to arch to do this. This is going to be very difficult for some people. In fact, I've seen grown men sweat from doing a set of 20 of these. So what you're going to do, put your head straight forward, simply tuck your chin. You're going to do this for 20 reps. It looks very easy, it's very difficult for some people. Stand in that same position. Again, you don't want to arch your lower back. Keep your upper back against the wall, your glutes, keep your feet where they're at. This is going to help your scapula move in a good direction. Keep your hands, wrists, and elbows against the wall, all the way up and all the way down. Again, concentrate on not arching your lower back at the bottom. Again, this can be very difficult for some people. And as I'm doing it now, I realize that my head is coming away from the wall and I need to start doing wall slides again. You'll do both of those for a set of 20. And then I'm going to have you do the cat pose. This is yoga pose. A lot of you women are going to love this. A lot of you men need to do more yoga type poses. You're going to physically press your hands into this floor. You're going to tuck your chin. You don't want your chin like this. You don't want your head like this. Tuck your chin like this. Keep a flat back. Not arched excessively, not rounded excessively. Okay, and this is basically an upper back movement. You're going to let your scapula drop or your shoulder blades drop. You're going to physically press them apart. Press your hands into the floor. So you're going to breathe. Let me just do it. Breathe out on the up and on the down. Especially when you're pressing down, you want to do so forcefully. Again, another set of 20. I can already feel my body temperature starting to rise. Part of that is because I'm making mistakes, and it's a little bit embarrassing. All right, the next thing is called the fire hydrant. Why do we call it the fire hydrant? Because it looks like a dog trying to pee on a fire hydrant. You don't want to twist your back, okay? The movement is not this. The movement is barely lift your leg within a centimeter of the ground and simply push it out like this. You're going to do that for 20 one way and 20 the other way. You physically push the hand and leg into the floor. That has contact with the floor. You want basically a 90-degree angle here and a 90-degree angle at the hip. Again, no excessive arching or rounding. Keep your back in a neutral position. Straight out of the fire hydrant, you're going to do the donkey pose. The donkey pose is the same thing. You're going to lead with your heel. So your glutes should be, your butt, your glutes should be nice and fired up by now. And you're going to barely lift your leg. Don't twist. Lead with your heel. No excessive back bending. This is all from the glutes. Again, your chin is tucked. You're pressing into the floor. You're leading with your heel. You're flexing your glute, not your lower back, at the top. Again, a set of 20 each leg. Your glutes should be nice and fired up by now. And that leads us into the windmill. Windmill is very simple. I barely point my backside toe this direction, and I point the front side toe about 45 degrees. Backside hand goes in the air. I personally point my thumb backwards because I want to externally rotate my shoulders in everything that I do. And then I push out with my hip. This is a hip-based movement, not a back-based movement. And I slide this hand down to the floor. Now, some of you may have to start here, because you want this to be hip-based, not lower back-based. The lower back is meant to be stable. The upper and mid-back is meant to be mobile. All your movement should come from your hips, not your lower back. You want to create stability in your lower back, mobility in your upper back, and mobility in your hips, which most people have very little, if any, mobility in their hips. This is a great exercise to open up the hips. Again, point this thumb back, keep this palm open, and push your hip back. Okay? Warm up, go down a little more each time, a little more each time, a little more each time. I just had Chipotle, so I got a little food baby going on. All right, that's going to be 20 reps, and this would be the conclusion of the warm-up. Then I would have Tammy go out and run her training for the day, which is a Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. It's mostly sprint-based training, hills, a lot of hills. And then she would come back and she's going to do more of a strength training based exercise. Now, we're going to start off with a modified donkey pose, go into a glute bridge or a hip thrust, which I'll show you, and I'll tell you why and when you need to go to each one. Seated row, pull aparts, I'll show you the rest. So, the modified donkey pose, pretty much the same thing. Get your back into neutral position, but we're going to add an arm portion to this. So, here is the donkey pose. Lead with your heel, flex your glute. Here is a modified donkey pose, opposite hand to opposite leg. So, again, my thumb comes up, my arm should in by my ear. I don't bring my head down to meet my arm, I bring my arm up to meet my head. This works on hip and shoulder mobility. It helps you learn to stay stable in your core while using your hip and your shoulder. It helps your upper back to become more mobile. You're going to do 20 on one side, 20 on the other. Again, lead with your heel. I think I was just pointing my toe on the last one. And again, no twisting of the back. From the donkey pose, I'm going to go into a glute bridge. So, normally when we do squats or deadlifts, we point our tailbone backwards. Here we're going to start off by flexing our glutes, flexing our abs, and point our tailbone to the ceiling or forward. I'm going to keep tight abs, and I'm going to come up, and I should be able to hyperextend through my hips, flexing my glutes very hard at the top. I'm not going to use my arms. Notice I'm up on my upper back. I come down, boom, push through, push through, push through, push through. The top should be kind of a violent movement, but again, don't engage your lower back. Keep that rounded, your tailbone pointed forward, your abs flexed, and that is the glute bridge. Now, once you get really good at the glute bridge, you can do what's called a hip thruster. If you're feeling it in your glutes and you feel like you want to go further, you want to challenge your glutes even more, you want to get that nice perky butt going, then you go into a hip thruster. Simply put your shoulder blades against the bench, don't throw your head back, keep it neutral, keep your spine neutral, get up on your heels, and the same thing, flex those glutes, hyperextend those hips, really get your hips coming through. It should be you shouldn't be completely flat, you should be able to actually get your hips through even more. Those are hip thrusters. Do as many as you can, 20, 30, 40, and then later on I'll show you how to add some weight to that movement. But first, get your form down. All right, then we're going to go into a seated row. Now, I can either double my band up, put it around my feet, and do it like this. Or if you're not strong enough, you can do it like this. Just vary where you grab it, okay? And just pull. So, I'm just gonna push my scapula down, and as I come back, pull them together. You don't wanna push your scapula up and shrug and pull together, okay? Push your scapula down and pull back and together. And you're going to do that until you feel a really, really nice burn. You can also grab it like this if you need. A really nice burn between your shoulder blades. Okay? And you don't want to be leaning back. You want to sort of lean forward. Alright? And it always feels like you're leaning forward more than you actually are. And then, again, a lot of times upper back and lower back problems have to do with not being able to properly utilize your glutes and have movement come from your hips, have movement come from your upper back. A lot of people bend at the lower back nowadays. That comes from sitting too much, having inactive glutes, having weak backs, okay? Spinal extensors, rhomboids, lower trapezius. So I'm going to have you do band pull aparts, which again, you can modify the level of hardness by how far apart you grab it or how close you grab it. So modified band pull aparts, going to have you get on your knees, flex your glutes, engage your abs, pull apart. Okay? Here your scapula should be apart, and then pull your scapula together. Okay, and see how I'm basically coming straight out? There's no need to go like this, although you can just, a lot of women tend to go back further than is necessary. That's going to strengthen all the right muscles in your upper back and in the back side of your shoulders, the posterior shoulders. So go straight from seated rows to that. Get as many in as you can. Now I'm going to show you a quad stretch. This is not a lower back stretch. Okay, and you can put a towel down on the floor, but your kneecap should not be on the floor anyway. This is going to stretch your hip flexors, your psoas, and all your quad dominant muscles here. Again, I don't want to be stretching the back. I want to push my glute through. I want to kind of flex it. And that's hard to do. You can actually put your hand there to see if you're able to flex your glute. And just sit there for a minute. And do that on each side. And that's really going to cure a lot of people's knee problems. Again, if you need to, put a couch pillow or a towel or something on the floor. so you don't hurt your knee physically. After the quad stretch, you're going to do a wall handstand, okay? Now, a lot of you women are going to be intimidated by this wall handstand. Don't be. Just, most of us have weak wrists, and it's hard on us to bend our wrists in this direction and put pressure on it. So I recommend actually pointing your thumbs forward, making a fist, and keeping straight wrists, not this way, or this way, just straight. Put a towel on the floor if you need to, you probably do. I'm probably a foot, maybe 8 or 9 inches away from the wall. You're going to get in this position, look between your legs. I'm looking at a wall socket right now. I'm going to lift one foot in the air and kick it up, okay? Now, there's a progression to this in case, just like the hip thrusters, there's a progression. So, you're probably intimidated by this. So, I want you to just kick up, kick up, kick up, right? Until you get to this point, okay? And then switch legs. Kick up, kick up, kick up, until you get to that point, okay? And every week you can progress a little. I recommend doing 3 to 5 kicks each leg. This is going to strengthen your shoulders, your upper back, your chest, your arms, and it's going to help you learn to use your shoulders and your hips at the same time, something that most people have a problem with. Okay, and then something very simple. You're going to take some soup cans, some light dumbbells at first. Take those, simply put them in your hands, keep your arms long, and walk around the block. Use long strides, flex your glutes as you're walking, and then get heavier and heavier as you go. You can use empty milk, 5 or 1 gallon milk jugs. You can buy kettlebells, dumbbells, whatever. Just walk with some weight in your hands. And for most women, that's going to increase your strength levels tremendously in a very short amount of time. So focus on your form, focus on getting a nice burn in there, and get out there and play. The reason we can't play anymore, the reason we get injured when we play is because we stop playing. So become a kid again.